All right, here we go. This is part 5, I think is what we're on now. So, again, I'm going to read the question, leave a space for you to say the answer, and then I'm going to say the answer so you can test if you know the answers, okay? True or false? A tiny movement such as a heartbeat can cause a ripple in the cut. That's true. A slight forward torch angle keeps the tip clean for a longer period of time. True or false? True. This is the kind of tea in which I'm going to start that again. This kind of tea is one whose 3 connections are all the same size. Straight T. Blank welding was introduced first. Forge or hammer? Blank welding is the most modern. Fusion. True or false? Generally, 17 months of training is required to learn to weld. False. 90-degree short radius elbow should be wrote as, in brackets, 1x NPS, and then another bracket, 3-inch short equals 3 inches. True or false? The highest paid welders are those who have the education and skills to read blueprints and do the required work to produce a weldment to strict specifications. True. That's why you're studying all these questions, right? To get paid tons and tons of money. A formal apprenticeship is usually required to become a general welder. True or false? A general welder? That's false. So the term is 3/4 of an inch, so 3/4 inch equals 28 millimeters. That's false. Remember, millimeters are the smallest measurement. When welding a capo in 3F and getting undercut, what is the problem? Excessive current. What point of the AC cycle does the cleaning action occur? Positive half. What is the formula for calculation WLL? It's capital WLL. So it says here height/length, so that's height divided by length, times WLL times number of slings. Say that again. Height slash or divided by length times WLL times the number of slings. In comparison to the vertical sling, how much strength does a basket have? Double. Voltage is directly related to blank of the weld pool. Fluidity. The term comparison to, in comparison to the strength of a vertical sling, how much does a choker have? In comparison to the strength of a vertical sling, how much does a choker have? 75% of the strength. What percentage of acetylene air in the air makes it explosive? 2.5 to 80%. Amperage is directly related to blank, 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 and blank. Burn-off rate and penetration. How many cable clips are required for a 1/2-inch rope? 3 clips. Never use fittings on an acetylene setup. Made from what material? Red brass or copper? What's the Canadian governing code for pressure vessels? B51. How many welding processes are identified in CSA W47.1? I'm going to read that again. How many welding processes are identified in CSA W47.1? 5. What classification is 6010 electrode? Fast freeze. What do you change in your torch when gouging with PAS compared to cutting? Swap the cutting tip for a larger orifice. If you shape cutting with PAC, what should your torch angle be? Perpendicular to the plate. What is a good SWAW rod for light gauge and nice bead profile? E6013. What's the most common problem that occurs with long arcing? Porosity. What kind of electrode is the following? E7018-A1. It is a low alloy electrode. How much does a W58 times 10 times 10 FT, or feet, weigh? How much does a W58 times 10 times 10 feet weigh? 100 pounds. If I want to add alloying elements to my flux, what flux should I use? Bonded. Generally, what is the rule of thumb for stick out for SAW? What is the rule of thumb for stick out for SAW? 8 times the wire diameter. What classification in a 7018 electrode? Low hydrogen. 90-degree long radius elbow would say, in brackets, 1.5 times NPS, and that'd be the other end of the bracket, and then 6-inch long radius equals 9 inches. A blank T is one where the outlet is of smaller size than the run. Reducing T. Advantages of welded joint. Smoother inside surface, leak-proof, more economical. What is the advantage of fiber cord ropes? Flexibility. If I need to use 2 power sources, how would I use them? Parallel hookup. Think of the parallel bars. You can use both of them at the same time when you're doing gymnastics. The possibility of being burned increases greatly when welding in the overhead position. True or false? That is true. A vertical weld is most common out-of-position weld that a welder is required to perform. True or false? True. Mild steel is one of the more difficult metals to gas weld. True or false? False. Which of the following is true of mild steel welds? True or false? It is possible to make welds with 100% integrity. True. And blank flame has the highest temperature. Oxidizing. Small amounts of total penetration usually will not cause burnout. True or false? True. Steel tips must be tightened with a wrench. True or false? True. Metal to metal. Oh, sorry. Blank steel tips must be tightened with a wrench. Metal to metal. On thick metal, a blank diameter filler rod may be used to blank. Small and increase penetration. So it would be on thick metal, a small diameter filler rod may be used to increase penetration. When taping hoses together, the hoses should be wrapped for about blank inches out of every blank inches. It says 2 out of every 12 inches. So every 12 inches is a foot, right? So you have to have, it has to be wrapped for about 2 inches every 12 inches, or 1 foot, right? The purpose of the blank valve is to prevent gases from accidentally flowing through the torch and into the wrong hose. What's the valve called? Reverse flow. Which of the following Is this true of a T-joint? A large percentage of welding heat is reflected back on the torch. True or false? True. When mixing oxygen and fuel gas, one method uses equal or balanced pressure and mixes gas in a mixing chamber. The direction that you choose to weld is a matter of personal preference, especially in overhead welding. Is this true or false? True. True or false? Horizontal welds, they must rely on some part of the weld bend to support the molten weld pool. True. In a horizontal stinger bead, the weld bead will tend to sag downward. As a result, there may be a blank at the bottom edge, an overlap. Blank of the T-joint embeds a larger weld to be made than either the butt or lap joint. Surface tension in the molten weld pool. Which of the following is true of welding mild steel piping and tubing? So is it true or false? Gas welding is seldom used to manufacture piping systems. True. There are blank basic methods for mixing oxygen and fuel gas to form hot uniform flame. Two. There are two basic methods. To obtain absolute pressure, you should add the atmospheric pressure to the gauge pressure. A braze joint can be made that has a tensile strength 4 to 5 times higher than the filler metal itself. True or false? True. The blank gauge is used to indicate the amount of gas that remains in a cylinder. High pressure. The torch pressure is always blank. The working pressure shown on the gauge. More or less than. The torch pressure is always more or less than the working pressure shown on the gauge. Less than. True or false? The uses of fluxes eliminates the need for good joint cleaning. False. The blank pressure gauge shows the pressure at the regulator. The working pressure. Doing great, keep going. The rooms that are used for manifolds cannot be used for cylinder storage. True or false? False. True or false? Straight or dedicated cutting torches are usually shorter than combination torches. False. True or false? Regulators that creep excessively or beyond the safe working pressure may be used with caution until they are repaired. False. Oxyacetylene welding is also referred to as blank. Gas welding or distance. Tin lead and tin anonymine solders KERF. The space between plates in a square bead. E6012 and E60. Fumes. No getting high while you weld. Provide the necessary shielding. Blank. Provide the necessary shielding. Burn, do what? Cover the burn area with thick, sterile, non-fluffy dressing. Blank light is dangerous because the welder cannot feel the light while being exposed to it, and it may pass through clothing. Ultraviolet. Blank must be able to interpret blueprints and welding process procedures. Welder assemblers. Position all parts in their proper places and make ready for the tack welders. Who does this? Welder assemblers. A blank gap may require blank. And I don't think that's fair, so we're going to say a narrow gap may require blank. More penetration. Electrons flow through a conductor blank. In what order? From what to what? Electrons flow through a conductor from blank to blank. From negative to positive. Wire should not be discarded on the floor because it can work its way into a filter screen on a welder's power source. True or false? True. What direction does metal expand when heated with no restraint? Volume, triacally, all directions. What is the minimum degree allowed by OHS Afro grinder guards? 120 degrees. PAC is a result of inadequate air pressure. PAC, what is the result of inadequate air pressure? Carbon deposits. What fuel gas is best choice for heating 6-inch material and longer? Propane. What should the saw blade pitch be for cutting harder, thinner material? 32-inch pitch. What should the saw blade pitch be for cutting aluminum? 14 pitch. What is the best sling configuration for moving pipe through the shop? Double wrapped basket. When CAC-A beveling and slag is attaching to edges, what is the likely problem? Air pressure too low. Insufficient gas pressures can cause what problem? What polarity is used for PAC? DCEN. Backfire occurs when the fire goes back into the tip. All right, that's section 5. Stay tuned for section 6. You're almost there. Keep going, girl.